Welcome back to Agent to Agent. We're very excited for this second episode of the 3 Sales of Real Estate. I'm Tim Brooks at Real Tim Brooks on Twitter.
And I'm Dan Schabowski at Dan Schabowski on Twitter as well.
Now this is a very, very exciting episode for me. It's one I really get fired up over also because I hear people always talking about we sold a house or we're selling a house or agents push someone into a house or that's where the sale is. And
right.
Is that where the sale is ever?
It's really not where the sale is even at all. That is just a matter of fact, something that comes along with the territory once you've crossed the right bridge for these sales that are actually the important part.
That's right. The sale has already occurred long before someone actually purchases a house. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over what are the 3 sales ever made in real estate, and there are only 3 of them.
And it's so important to understand, again, that this is a sales profession. We talked about last time how people don't view real estate as sales, but it really is, and it's not probably in the spot that they would think it would be.
Yeah, so we're going to go over what the first sale is right now. And the first sale, like the myth is that that the buyer's agent sells a house, and the fact is the sale, when dealing with the buyer, occurs when you get the buyer agreement signed. Getting them to sign the buyer agreement is the sale on the buyer
right.
side. And there's only 2 sides, buyer side, seller side.
Because you're selling them on the value that you bring to them. They're not looking for a door opener. They're looking for an agent with value, and you need to provide that at this point in time.
Well, that's right, because it's only really a problem to get things signed in the absence of value.
Absolutely.
Only a problem in the absence of value to get things signed. And a lot of new buyer's agents always seem to get hung up on getting a buyer agreement signed, and they put so much anxiety and pressure around it that when they actually present it, it feels weird, it seems weird, and then the buyer wonders, hey, something's wrong here.
It's just like if you're selling a product, you don't feel comfortable in your own product. Mm-hmm. How am I going to sign this if you're not conveying confidence and value to me as the client? Because really you're selling yourself and your value. You are the product.
That's right. So let's create some value here. Let's
Absolutely.
Create some value when dealing with the buyer. Okay, and the first thing that we need is a tight initial phone pitch. Whenever that sign call comes in or a call comes in off of your marketing and it's a buyer calling about a listing or something, you need a tight initial phone pitch. That first 5 to 10 seconds when you answer your phone, the tone of your voice, and what you're actually conveying to them and any kind of value that you're offering so that it makes sense for them to actually work with you as opposed to the other 10 listings that they call the listing
right.
agents on.
And that's so important what you said too, and we're going to cover this in later episodes as well, about the tone of your voice. In the first 10 seconds, that potential client is going to know whether you're an expert or you're a pretender.
That's right, that's right. And so as soon as you have that initial phone pitch, just to get them kind of excited to work with you and listen to what you have to say, maybe look at your listing, we want to get them excited to look at a property, whether it's the property they called about, or actually I like to ask them if they'd be interested in seeing how many?
At least 2 more.
2 more
yep.
properties. So we're going
exactly.
out to look at 3 properties, right?
Exactly.
They're no longer just coming to look at the listing. Now they are a client.
Exactly. Because now they're not looking you to be somebody who's just going to turn the key of the house that they called about, send them in, and let them come back out. They see you as a professional who's going to deliver that value to them and live up to a very high expectation.
Well, what happens every time we ever just do a one-off showing and they only want to see that one house? Every time what happens?
You never hear from them again. They're off. They're maybe working with another agent, maybe not.
They never sign a buyer agreement.
Never.
That's all they wanted. You gave it to them, and that's it.
And then they're done.
So you got to get them excited to go see a couple properties with you.
Right.
And also, we're big on pre-selling using video.
Right. By the time that they show up to meet us at that first property, they're sold on our value already. And that video mm-hmm. is so important because a lot of times as this impersonal conversation takes place, they may not have a face to put with you necessarily, even if it's on the sign. Who knows who it's going to be on the team? We want to deliver that. We want them to see we use the latest technology, and we are clearly experts at what we do.
And people like to do business with people they know and
they trust.
That's right. So the video that we actually send out gives a whole buyer presentation. It sets their expectations, it establishes value, and it really makes signing the buyer agreement prior to us ever actually meeting a no-brainer and a natural step.
It's a foregone conclusion, yeah. Exactly. And you're right, setting expectations is so vital, and that's kind of the next step, is making sure that their expectations are set to the correct spot before we even meet.
They understand what the process is going to be. They understand about how to make an offer on the house, and it's okay to make an offer that may be list price, right?
Right. And most importantly, they understand, why do I want buyer representation? Why do I want a buyer's agent? Because so many people don't understand why they want, and more importantly, why they need representation.
Yeah, and then what we're going to do after that is we're going to set the initial buyer appointment on the phone right there. So we're going to set that appointment to actually go look at those 3 homes. Now, we haven't shown them which homes yet. We've just asked, do you want to see, would you be interested in seeing a couple other homes that may fit your needs? So we're going to set that appointment to meet them at the house. And then the next step is the comprehensive buyer interview.
Which is so important, because then that lets us understand exactly what they want. And 2, it probably helps them understand what they want, which in some cases they may not know, but those questions are directed specifically to help us narrow down the type of properties, because we don't want to show them 50. Absolutely.
It gets them invested in you. They've spent about a half hour on the phone with you at that point. Now then we want to test for compliance, and testing for compliance means we're going to send them to the lender for a pre-approval if they don't have one. This is the spot that you're going to have what?
You're going to have pushback, and you're going to have a lot of people fall out. Or not a lot, you're going to have some people fall out.
However, is that a good thing?
It's a great thing.
Because they would waste your time at one point or another, and better right up front.
If that person is not qualified, I want to know now, before I've taken them to 6 properties, spent my time and wasted theirs too, because without being qualified, everyone's time is being wasted.
And then we're going to send them the actual buyer agreement with e-signatures. They're actually going to sign that, and that'll get sent back to us before we've ever actually even met them. We're already going to have a signed buyer agreement. And that's really, like we said, a natural byproduct of everything, all the value that we just packed in our first initial phone conversation and any follow-up after that. So at the initial showing, we're going to remind them that we're actually looking at the best properties first based on the expectations we set. So it's okay to actually pick one of these first 3 homes, because that's the best there is based on what they were choosing.
Right.
So, and if they can't do that, we'll bump them up in price. We'll be right back with you.
Welcome back to Agent. I'm Dan Schabowski, at Dan Schabowski on Twitter.
And I'm Tim Brooks, at Real Tim Brooks on Twitter. Do you want to know why it's not just Tim Brooks on Twitter?
Isn't it?
Somebody took it. And it's an egghead, no picture. It's an inactive account. They have 1 follower, which is me. Tried to buy it, got ripped off. So I'm Real Tim Brooks. So anyway, welcome back. And now we're going to get into the second sale of real estate. We already covered the first sale, which is the buyer agreement. Now we're going to get into the second sale, which is...
It's a listing appointment and getting that scheduled.
Yes, and that is actually the highest income generating activity there is in real estate. Being able to prospect and set the listing appointment. It's one of the highest skill requirements other than the listing agreement itself, but it's the highest income producing activity that you can do. And that is the engine of your real estate Ferrari.
It really is, and that's going to be important to understand as you go. Those listing buyers may come a little easier, may appear to come a little easier, but it's so important to focus on that listing side if you want to be massively successful, because it is the engine that's going to drive it.
Drive what? Your real estate Ferrari? That's right. And what's the fuel? The leads.
That's right.
So, and we're talking about prospecting for listings, not buyers. The degree of your skill in this activity and the time spent on it will determine the size and power of that real estate engine.
Absolutely, because if you're going out there and you're functioning without skill, you're going to miss out on so many opportunities. And if you don't dedicate the time to it, that's so vital to dedicate the time that this really deserves. Every other action is not as important as this one here.
Plus, the results are immediate.
Right.
Immediate results from this activity. Now, it may take you a little bit of time to skill up, but if you're dedicated to that within 1 week, you're going to see results immediately.
Your skill will massively increase.
If you send out a mailing to a neighborhood, that may take a month, maybe never.
Right.
You have to keep doing that over time. In 6 months, a year, you'll see the results. With a phone prospecting for listing appointments, it's almost an immediate result.
Absolutely.
So the whole point of your prospecting call is to simply set a listing appointment.
It's not to list them over the phone right then. It's not to get the sign up today in the yard. It's to schedule that appointment, because in between that time is when we're going to create that value and we're going to pre-sell them. So when the appointment actually takes place, a lot of the heavy lifting's been done.
And there are some agents that will try and list it over the phone, and it is a mistake to do that. Now, if you have awesome skill and maybe they're located out of town, we do it from time to time, but don't make that a practice, though, or that'll be a mistake.
Yeah, don't hang your hat on it and be your only plan of action to make those happen.
And you're going to need specific scripts for the different types of leads that you're going to be prospecting. So check out millionsonthephone.com at the Whatever It Takes Network. Awesome script
And it can really be tailored to every type of lead and every type of situation. There are so many good tactics that are used in there that are extremely vital to your success on the phone.
Now, right here is the point that a lot of people get tripped up and where they kind of stop. There's a second point that the rest of them stop in their tracks, and that's, they'll ask themselves, who do I call? Where do I get the leads? And then that's as far as their listing program goes.
They may know initially, okay, I'm going to contact the people that are already in my phone, my circle of influence. However, that runs out pretty quickly.
Actually, that's the one that most people seem to have the most trouble with.
Because they don't want to approach their friends about real estate.
And we'll cover that in a second. But so there are many sources of leads. One, expireds.
Right.
What other ones do we have?
For sale by owners that are in the area.
That's right. And those people already have their hands raised that they want to do business.
They've already said, yes, I want. In both of those situations, expired and for sale by owners have already raised their hand and said, I want to sell my home.
Yeah, and the for sale by owner, they're usually just trying to save a little bit of commission.
Right. And that's where the value proposition comes in. They need to understand, where is that commission going? Because otherwise, I wouldn't want to spend it either if I didn't think I was getting any value for it.
Now, besides just expireds and FSBOs, we also do one other thing that where we're going through entire neighborhoods now.
Circle prospecting.
That's right.
Exactly.
Where we pick a sold listing and we just start calling all of the houses around it into an entire development.
Sure.
And that actually has been very successful. It's a little bit different type of phone call.
It's a different mentality, and it's a much different approach, and it's so vital to understand the approach and the motivation of each one of these types of potential sellers, so that way we can gauge that motivation and activate it while we're on the phone with them speaking.
Yeah, and however, you already have the best lead source already, and it's already uploaded for you and you didn't even know it. And that's going to be the contacts in your phone. Sphere of influence. And that's the one that people seem to be most scared to actually call.
Right.
So start calling those contacts in your phone. They're going to be the ones that want you to succeed the most. Now, there are two types of leads, direct leads and referral source leads. And now that your lead sources and you know what you should be doing, it's time to get on the phone.
That's right. Overcome that fear, and even if you're initially excited, you have to be able to consistently stay with the phone too.
Yeah, that's right. And this is where most people actually stop in their tracks and freeze.
Exactly.
I have my lead set up here. I have my phone. I have everything all set up. Now I have to actually pick it up and dial it.
Right.
And then that's where people tend to freeze, and you have to work through that.
That's where the fear comes in, because they view it as an emotional thing. Well, really, it's not. Yeah. It's a numbers game. You have to make those phone calls.
And we call that call reluctance.
Right.
And everyone's affected by it. It's a fear of failure. It's a fear of rejection. And it's normal. However, those are irrational fears.
Right. This is not about a personal attack on your character.
Yeah, and you have to believe in yourself and your product to start with.
If you don't believe that your product is the best one out there, and you are the best one for the job out there, then that's going to come across that way on the phone, and people are going to pick up on that real quick.
Yeah, and you have to overcome your call reluctance also. That is probably the biggest thing. If you can overcome that fear, the call reluctance, then the world will open to you as far as listings, because then you're going to be able to skill up with your scripts, your dialogue, and just get better and better and better.
Right. The fear won't slow your progress down whatsoever.
That's right. That's right. And you really should stick with your say, phone prospecting program for at least 60 days so that you can develop and lock in that habit with it.
Right. And two, you're going to start to understand where your friction points are and how to improve that. Because if you're consistently going through this and you don't ever see where you missed an opportunity, then you're not learning enough yet. You're not skilled enough yet to see where we need to overcome those friction points.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the limiting beliefs that I see probably the most with new agents that we work on this program with, and we always start out with your sphere of influence on the phone, simply asking for referrals. It's the easiest script there is in the world, is, hey, how are you? Who do you know that wants to buy or sell? And you can start that right now today with that simple little script. Everybody in your phone, no matter who they are, don't weed them out. Don't
say, I don't want to call this person. I don't want to call, well, I'll call this person.
That's right.
Hoping that they won't answer sometimes.
Yeah, call your sphere of influence also. They are your biggest supporters. They do want you to succeed, and that is actually the fastest source of an immediate lead.
Absolutely.
Is asking for referral from your contacts. Let's say it's your second day in real estate.
Absolutely.
That's where I would actually go. So any other thoughts on that portion of what we were talking about?
Well, like you said, I think the biggest thing to overcome is overcoming this fear and understand that it is a numbers game, and you have to believe in yourself and you have to believe in your product. That's the most vital thing about all of this. Believe in your product, believe in your value.
That's right. So stay with us, and in the next segment, we're going to cover the mechanics of actually setting the appointment.
agent to agent for the third segment here. I'm again Dan Schabowski at Dan Schabowski on Twitter.
And I'm Tim Brooks at Real Tim Brooks on Twitter.
That's right. And just to recap, so far we're talking about the 3 sales in real estate today. So far we've talked about the buyer agreement and scheduling the listing appointment.
That's right. And we have our mystery third sale coming up later.
That's right.
So, all right. And just to get back where we had left off before the end of the last segment, we were talking about phone prospecting, setting listing appointments, right? And one thing people may not realize is that real estate is actually a contact sport. Did you know that?
I did know that, yes.
I know you were a football player before, so you're used to contact sports,
Right.
but real estate is a contact sport.
Absolutely.
It may feel sometimes like you have to wear a helmet sometimes when things get rough.
Sure.
But what I mean by it being a contact sport is it all is a matter of how many people are you contacting is going to determine how well you're doing financially.
Right, because nothing solves a problem better than a full pipeline, right?
Full pipeline solves all
Every
problems.
problem, exactly.
So people stay in their homes an average of 8 to 10 years. So maybe some people are aware of that, some not. It used to be 7 years, but it's crept back up again. And that means that on any given year, 1 in 10 people are in the market to buy, sell, or both. Now that means that if you talk to 10 people today, chances are one of them is in the market to buy or sell or know somebody that is.
Right, and that's so important too, just like that last point that you made there, knowing someone. It's always important. It's a one-sentence close. Who do you know?
Yeah.
Because it may not be them, but it may be their brother, their friend, their neighbor. So often, that conversation has turned out positive, right?
And why don't we ask, do you know anyone?
Right, exactly.
People's automatic response is no one.
Right.
So you have to ask them,
But
who
it's
do you know?
Who do you know? Exactly.
And what's my favorite follow-up to that when they say no one?
His favorite follow-up is, well, if you were to know somebody, who would it be?
Yeah. If you did know, who would
Right.
it be? And they look at you a little
And as
funny.
silly as that sounds, I've heard people respond,
They
well,
actually-
it would be my brother. You know, it does actually work.
So then they give you a name. So try that. Who do you know?
Absolutely.
And if they say no one, well, if you did know.
Who would it be?
So again, back to what we were talking about in the last segment, though. Commit to your prospecting program for at least 60 days to develop the skills and the habit to lock
Right.
all of that in.
Block that time out in your schedule every day, because as soon as you start having pushback, if you don't do that, you're going to find a reason to do something else that's nowhere near as beneficial to your success as phone prospect.
Now, most agents that start a, say, phone prospecting program,
Right.
going after expires, withdrawals, FSBOs, how long do they usually last doing it? What happens?
I don't know, maybe a week to 2 weeks. Sometimes the good ones, 2 weeks.
I would say a week,
Yeah.
but if they're really committed.
2. Right.
So, but usually on average it's about a week. They didn't get an instant result, but they didn't skill up, they didn't commit to the habit itself, and then they start finding excuses to do other things.
Anything else.
And
Because of their fear of the phone, that fear of rejection, when really that's kind of a misguided belief.
yeah, and 1 week isn't enough time to say develop the skill or fill
Right.
your pipeline. What kind of pipeline are you going to get after a week?
Exactly.
Especially if you're just starting out in that program. So commit to the skill and commit to the activity. Now this may be a new program for those agents who are used to working by referral only or word of mouth.
Which means I'm not going to go out and sell my value to anybody. I'm going to wait for them to fall into my lap. And we've already discussed what happens to those agents who wait for clients to fall into their lap.
When you're waiting on other people, what are you? Who's in control then?
They are. They have the leverage.
Yeah, but you as the agent aren't in control.
Exactly.
You're at the mercy of the winds.
Exactly.
So again, it may be a new program for those that are used to referral only, and that method may fill your real estate sales today, but those wins can change.
There's no guarantee. And those are the agents you'll find that I call them hibernators. They'll
Yeah.
go away in September, and you'll see them again next April, maybe.
Yeah.
Not
Those
sure
are all-
they eat in between.
Those are all the same agents that kind of washed out in 2007, and we're starting to see them come back a
Right.
little bit. But again, there was a lesson to have been learned from back then, which is you have to prospect, keep that pipeline full, stay in control of your business.
Absolutely.
When you're getting ready to prospect, have your list ready, clear your work area, and clear your mind.
That's right.
What happens where we've got a couple guys that we see prospect every day, and sometimes their workstation gets a little bit, say,
Gets a little clouded.
clouded, jumbled, and what's the productivity end up looking like on those days for those guys?
Well, it starts to resemble that. It's all over the place. It's not focused. It's not focused on that action that's really going to deliver the results that you want.
That's right, and it's just all over the place, and and it's hard to control it, to predict it, and to be a master of.
And I think predicting it is so important too, where if these processes are flawed, you can predict your success, and you can understand why it's not happening and fix it if that's the case, as opposed to other people not having any idea why the market's changed or their success has changed.
Well, they didn't get an appointment today.
Right.
So then the next thing, when you're going to start out your role play day, and always try and start it as early as possible, role play your script with somebody else. Stand while you do this also.
Exactly.
And why is that important to stand?
Because you don't want to sit behind the table, because then your emotion will reflect how you sound on the phone. Stand up.
Raises the energy level?
Yep, exactly. Move around. Just like if you were given, have you ever seen a great speech being given by someone slouching in a chair?
Never.
Probably not.
So when you go over your role play, stand up, bring your energy level up. Then once you're done role playing, say your daily affirmation. And why is that important to get our right mindset there?
Because that focus has to be concentrated on the right, and because it's easy to get frustrated and to find another reason to do something else if we don't affirm the reason why we're doing this and why we can be successful.
And my daily affirmation right before I prospect is business comes easy to me. I just say it out loud.
Right.
And
you
it
set
does.
the mindset for yourself for that day and that activity.
Yeah. And then immediately from there on, get on the phone and start calling. Don't find anything else to do. Don't go get another cup of coffee. Don't arrange anything. Immediately, as soon as you're done with that, get on the phone.
Don't answer an email. Nothing else in your day as is important.
Don't even pull the email up, because then that'll just suck you right in.
That's right.
So, so start calling and then track your stats. And why is tracking our stats important for us?
Well, because that way we can analyze success or areas of improvement that we need.
Yeah, exactly. And we know, then we can figure out our conversion rates, and down the road we'll know exactly how many phone calls, how many dials do I need to make X number of dollars, and then we can do the math all the way backwards.
You can work it down, exactly. And it really makes your day a lot simpler and the whole thing a lot easier when you can break it down to, if I make this many phone calls today, I'm guaranteeing myself the success that I want and that I'm planning for.
Because we know, okay, it's going to take me, say, 80 dials to make, say, 5 contacts, and of those 5 contacts, maybe I'll get 1 appointment. And really, we base it on 20 contacts is what pretty much guarantees us an appointment.
Right.
So whatever your conversion rate is, however many dials you need to make 20 contacts to get your 1 appointment, then of course you have your 4 follow-ups that are going to turn into appointments too. But that's a different show. So once you're done for the day prospecting, send your appointment confirmations. Send confirmations out to every one of your appointments.
In multiple ways too. And even while you're on the phone with them, send them a text message.
Immediately, in millionsonthephone.com shows us that increases our chances of actually making that sale by 300%.
Absolutely.
So by sending a text while you're on the phone with them. We use an email confirmation, but we like video email.
Absolutely. A personal recording to that person confirming their appointment so they can see we're invested in it and they know that they're getting value from us right away.
Yeah, then we're going to send a blank listing agreement. We're also going to send our marketing plan.
And why do we do those? To set their expectations, right?
Well, and the purpose of that is to eliminate any objections that they're going to have by needing to review the marketing plan, needing to look over the listing agreement.
Right. I need a night to look at the listing agreement. I need a night to look at your marketing. It's already here. It's in front of you before I got there.
We sent it, so that eliminates that objection down the road.
Right.
And you can't control who picks up the phone or how many appointments you set. All you can control are the number of phone calls that you make. Frequency matters.
Right.
Now, the third sale in real estate, which we haven't covered yet, is the actual listing presentation. We're actually going to cover that in episode 3. That entire episode will be dedicated to the third sale in real estate, the listing presentation. Once again, thank you for joining us at Agent to Agent. I'm Tim Brooks at Real Tim Brooks.
And I'm Dan Schabowski at Dan Schabowski, and we'll see you next week on Agent to Agent.
Agent to Agent is also available for download on iTunes and Stitcher.